Hi, I'm Bobby Russell, and I'm a Microsoft technical trainer. I'm here to walk you through the SC-200 Microsoft Security Operations Analyst course. In our first learning path, we're going to look at mitigating threats using Microsoft Defender XDR. So what are we going to cover? Well, in this, we're going to look at the introduction to threat protection with Microsoft Defender XDR. We're also going to look at mitigating threats using Microsoft Defender XDR. We're going to look at remediating risks using Microsoft Defender for Office 365 and Microsoft Defender XDR. We'll look at Microsoft Defender for Identity and how we can use it with Microsoft Defender XDR. We'll look at protecting your identities with Entra ID protection. And finally, we'll look at Defender for Cloud Apps in Microsoft Defender XDR. Let's start with our first module, an introduction to threat protection with Microsoft Defender XDR. After completing this module, you'll be able to understand Microsoft Defender XDR solutions by domain. You'll understand Microsoft Defender XDR's role in a modern SOC, or Security Operations Center. We'll also look at understanding the security operations model, and finally, understand threat investigations using Microsoft Security Graph API. Organizations need to think across all stages of an attack chain and balance investments across them. Security is a team sport across businesses, technology, and security teams, so it's critical to have a clear and consistent communications process. Attacks are a central guiding source of security insights, so organizations need a clear framework and model to ensure that communications are clear, terminology and ideas are well understood, and discussions lead to mutual understanding and coherent actions. This describes three ways of modeling attack chains, including the Lockheed Martin kill chain, which is a legacy model. This venerable model pioneered for application of the kill chain concept from military doctrine to cybersecurity attacks. This is now a legacy model because it was never updated to keep up with modern multi-stage attacks that heavily involve lateral traversal. The MITRE ATT&CK framework. This is a well-respected, well-maintained, and popular model that guides technical planning and is particularly useful for technical professionals to assess the organization's detection coverage against known attacks. And then we have the PEAT model. This is a simple model suitable for high-level strategy discussions with non-security and non-technical leaders that simplify and accurately describe attack stages. Microsoft provides end-to-end integrated visibility into the variety of attack techniques seen in both external attacks and another critical one, which is insider risk. This attack chain diagrams illustrates common types of attack techniques used in many attacks, sometimes called a kill chain. Attackers are flexible and can use a variety of attack techniques during an attack chain sequence to reach their ultimate objectives, which is stealing data, extortion, ransomware, and other things. Microsoft offers an integrated set of extended detection and response, or XDR, and SIEM and SOAR capabilities. SIEM being security information and event management, and SOAR being security orchestration and automated response, which provide coverage across common attack chains. These XDR capabilities provide advanced threat detections with a focus on high-quality alerts, a low alert rate of false alarms, aka false positives, as well as automated investigation and response capabilities. Microsoft Defender XDR brings together all these capabilities to streamline the analyst experience and minimize the need to change console interfaces during time-sensitive incidents. Microsoft Sentinel alerts and workflows are integrated into Microsoft Defender XDR to further extend this experience. These tools that all work together and with existing security capabilities include things such as Microsoft Security Copilot, which is still in preview, which empowers people in security operations to simplify many tasks using generative AI intelligence, or AI, based on large language models, or LLMs. This helps with detecting threats, investigating incidents, writing up investigation reports, and identifying data impacted by incidents, and finally improving security posture and more. Another product is Microsoft Defender for Office 365, or MDO, which provides protection for email, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, and other Office capabilities. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, or MDE, provides endpoint protection and response, or EDR capabilities, covering productivity workstations, servers, mobile devices, and more. Microsoft Defender for IoT, or IoT, provide coverage for asset discovery and threat management for IoT devices and for attacks on operational technology, or OT resources, which can result in disruption of physical processes like factory production, power generation, medical device functionality, and more. Another product, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, provides additional capabilities for server VMs and coverage of SQL servers or SQL servers, containers, API, DevOps, DevSecOps processes, and many more. Microsoft Entra ID Protection and Microsoft Defender for Identity, or MDI, collectively cover the identity stages of attacks, providing detection of threats for Entra ID and for on-premise based identity infrastructure based on Windows Server Active Directory and Active Directory Federated Services, or ADFS. Also, we have Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, or MDCA, which provides coverage for software as a service apps on both an attack detection and a data exfiltration perspective, including over 400 generative AI apps, which are still in preview. Microsoft Sentinel is a cloud-native security information and event management, or SIEM capability that provides custom detections over arbitrary logs from other security tools, line of business applications, network devices, and many more services. Key elements of these tools include security orchestration and automated response, or SOAR, which are technologies integrated through the use of tools including AutoIR, automated investigation and response, and custom SOAR in Microsoft Sentinel. Microsoft Defender XDR also includes deception technologies to provide high-quality detection of adversaries who access fake accounts and endpoints that are created and managed by Defender XDR. We also look at Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence Insights. Data and reports are integrated through these tools to improve threat detection and provide human analysis with key content. This is an illustration of how these tools work together to keep the organization secure and reduce the amount of repetitive tasks for analysts. So number one, the attack. A user checks their personal webmail from their corporate device and opens an attachment with malware. And this malware that is designed to evade traditional antivirus signatures. Number two, the detection. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint detects this abnormal behavior and automatically investigates it, creates an automated sequence to remediate the threat, and prompts an analyst to approve the cleanup, which can be auto-approved if you so choose. Number three, the intelligence sharing. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint provides information on this new malware to Microsoft Threat Intelligence systems, triggering other Microsoft security capabilities like Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, Microsoft Defender for Office, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, Microsoft Defender for Identity, and so on, to search for similar malware across customers and clean it up from their mailboxes, devices, cloud services, and more. Number four, we have damage containment. Until the analyst approves the remediation, conditional access blocks access to enterprise applications from this device. Once Microsoft Defender for Endpoint communicates the all clear for this device, Entra ID, formerly known as Azure AD, restores the user's access. And five, additional remediation. Microsoft Sentinel workflows are also triggered to modify the Palo Alto firewall to block IP addresses of the attacker's command and control server, or C2 server. Organizations also face insider risks where trusted insiders have access to sensitive resources and may choose to abuse that access for a variety of reasons. Microsoft Insider Risk Management in Microsoft 365 helps minimize internal risks by enabling you to detect, investigate, and act on malicious and inadvertent activities in your organizations. Modern security operations, or SecOps, reduces organizational risk from active attacks by rapidly detecting and remediating them. While a highly technical discipline, SecOps is a first human-centric function that empowers people with technology, rather than trying to replace people. Modern security operations technology helps extend human skills and expertise across today's hybrid of everything technical environments to meet the threats posed by adaptable human attackers, who often use automated tools. Because serious cyber attackers are often driven in near real time by human attack operators, success metrics for security operations, or SecOps, should focus heavily on the time attackers have in the environment and helping defenders reduce attack dwell time. This is normally measured in mean time to remediate, or MTTR. This reduces attackers' ability to inflict damage on the organization. Raw data in classic SecOps is another important thing. Historically, security operations focused on collecting as much activity or event data from the environment as they could in a security incident and event management system, or SIEM solution. While collecting is an important foundational step, this often led to a collection is not detection problem, where very few actionable insights were actually gleaned from the data collected. Queries authored by human analysts sometimes help detect anomalies that were malicious attacks, but these static queries often generated many false positive detections because of the continuously changing attacks, organizational assets, user behavior patterns, and the data sources. These false positives, or false alarms, waste precious human analysts' time and attention, taking them away from managing real attacks and increasing analyst fatigue and burnout. XDR Deep Insights in Threat Intelligence is another important thing. Extended Detection and Response, or XDR, created a SecOps transformation by radically improving both effectiveness and efficiency for common attacks compared to custom static detections with your classic SIEM solutions. XDR started with endpoint detection and response, or EDR tools like Defender for Endpoint, formerly known as Defender ATP, and has been extended to many resource types including APIs and generative AI like ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, and Google Bard. These XDR tools provided high-quality alerts, low false positive rates by gaining deep visibility into specific asset types and applying behavior analytics and machine learning technology to these data assets. They also provide enhanced detection, response, and recovery capabilities to guide the investigation and threat hunting workflows. These high-quality detections and workflows allow analysts and hunters to spend more time investigating hunting for attacks versus less time chasing false positives and writing and maintaining queries. XDR tools like Microsoft XDR provide these efficiencies by focusing on individual asset types like endpoints, operating systems, identity systems, our SaaS applications, storage services, databases, IoT and OT devices, and other things. And they incorporate asset-specific data sources like endpoint, in-memory scans, and snippets of relevant network traffic on domain controllers. They look at deep knowledge of asset-specific attacks, things like pass the hash, endpoint antivirus, evasion, and so forth. They provide threat intelligence, which is context derived from past attacks and current activities. Right now, there's over 65 trillion signals per day being analyzed by Microsoft for technical tooling and for human analytics. Machine learning and behavior analytics, or UEBA, which is referred to as user entity behavior analytics, tuned specifically to those asset types and attacks. Now keep in mind, Microsoft Defender XDR also includes deception technology to provide high-quality detection of adversaries who access fake accounts and endpoints that are created and managed by Defender XDR. Automation, or SOAR, and integration is another key component. Another key element for empowering security operations comes from the adaptation of SOAR, or security orchestration and automation remediation. These are technologies that allow you to integrate with other tool sets to give you better security. SOAR automation and integration, it reduces the manual work for analysts and other roles with seamless experiences. Manual steps take time, and it takes time away from meaningful work, and they erode the analyst's morale. They would rather be fighting the bad guys than copying and pasting between tools and switching consoles. It allows you to speed things up by speeding up response times because the automation happens at machine speed rather than human speed. It allows us to increase scale. Increasing the scale of security operations allows us to meet the growing volume of attacks and increase scope, complexity of modern multi-cloud hybrid enterprises. Microsoft focused on automation and integration by embedding SOAR technologies through our tools, such as AutoIR in Defender XDR, Azure Logic Apps, and Microsoft Sentinel. Single Microsoft 365 Defender consoles are used to integrate experiences for endpoint, email, and SaaS solutions. We provide native integration, Microsoft tools together with SIEM and XDR to simplify SecOps workflows, and creating APIs to connect with existing third-party tools. Microsoft Sentinel and SIEM modernization is another key component that we have. The need for SIEM technology has not gone away from the advent of XDR, but has shifted to the case where it's needed most, creating custom detections, not duplicating XDR common detections. And it also allows us to analyze multiple different data sources, including existing third-party security tools. Microsoft Sentinel is a cloud-native SIEM that complements XDR. And it does this by providing analytics to create custom detections and hunt for threats across arbitrary log data sources from any platform, cloud, application, or device. Microsoft Sentinel alerts and workflows are integrated into Microsoft Defender XDR to streamline the analyst experience and minimize the need for change, changing consoles and interfaces during time-sensitive incidents. Microsoft Sentinel alerts and workflows are integrated into Microsoft Defender XDR to streamline the analyst experience and minimize the need to change things like consoles and interfaces during time-sensitive incidents. Now, there are some things you want to keep in mind. In addition to traditional SIEM functionality of static analysts, of event logs, Microsoft Sentinel incorporates SOAR, machine learning, user entity behavior analytics, Jupyter notebooks, threat intelligence, and security data lake approaches to refine detection, investigation, and threat hunting processes. Microsoft Sentinel also supports lower cost archival storage for large volumes of data. Microsoft Sentinel also provides many playbooks and other features to streamline investigation and remediation of critically important assets like SAP applications, operational technology, and IoT, known as Industry Standard Control Systems, or ICSs, or SCADA systems that we have out there. It also provides expert assistance. None of us is as smart as all of us. Succeeding against the connected ecosystem of attackers requires defenders to work together as a community, sharing intelligence, insight, and our expertise. Microsoft helps our customers get expert assistance with Microsoft Threat Experts, which are managed hunting services for Defender XDR that provides security operations centers with expert level monitoring and analysis to help them ensure critical threats in your unique environment don't get missed. We also have Microsoft Incident Response. Microsoft's Detection and Response Team, or DART, and customer support provides assistance with incident response, recovery, and hunting on-site and even remotely. We have partners in managed security operations. Microsoft partners with top experts in the industry to build their expertise on these Microsoft security operations capabilities so that they can advise and directly support our customers. For more information on these topics, see Mission and Metrics, Incident Response when it comes to investigations, look at Incident Response when it comes to remediations, look at Threat Hunting, and Automated Investigation and Response, or AIR. We also have Security Copilot. Microsoft Security Copilot, which is still in preview, empowers people in security operations by simplifying many tasks using generative AI or artificial intelligence based on large language models. This helps with detecting threats, investigating incidents, writing up investigation reports, identifying data impacted by incidents, improving security posture, and many more things. So within your organization, if you're considering deploying or building a security operations center, here's an example of how you could deploy that. At the lowest level, we have our basic automation. Automation is going to be useful in environments where you have the most common threats that can be automated in their response. And the goal here is to offload as much of this remediation as possible and let the system take care of it instead of having an analyst take care of it. Now, for those events that can't be automated, we can have another tier, which is our first tier. In tier 1, this is where we have our rapid deployment. And the purpose here is to address any high value or high volume type of threats that you may have within your organization that you can't necessarily always automate. Above that would be your second tier. In your second tier, this is where you start doing your advanced analysis when it comes to remediation overall. And again, as we start moving up this tier, the types of threats are going to be more specific. They're going to be very more widespread in some cases. And then at the top tier, tier 3, at this tier, this is going to be where you do your proactive, what we refer to as hunting. In this scenario, we're looking for things before they become an issue. So this is a great example or great model that you can use within your organization when it comes to deploying your security operations center. One of the things that you may also want to consider is using Microsoft Graph in your overall security practices. The Microsoft Graph Security API is an intermediary service for your broker that provides programmatic connections to many different Microsoft services that we have out there. Microsoft Graph is a RESTful web API. After you register your app and you get authentication tokens for a user or service, you can make requests into the Microsoft Graph API. There are 2 different versions that we have, version 1.0 and beta. You can use the Microsoft Graph Explorer to call the security API. You must have the required permissions and you must be authenticated to be able to do that. So make sure you keep that in mind. If you're interested in seeing this in action, follow the link below for a guided demonstration. And in this guided demonstration, we'll look at investigating things within Microsoft Sentinel. We'll look at investigating things in Microsoft Defender XDR, and we'll follow the process of using automation. Let's jump into our second module, mitigate incidents using Microsoft Defender. After completing this module, you'll be able to manage incidents in Microsoft Defender XDR, investigate incidents in Microsoft Defender XDR, work with automatic attack disruption, describe advanced hunting capabilities in Microsoft XDR. So these are the things that we're going to cover here. So one of the key things that we need to consider is the Microsoft Defender portal. The Microsoft Defender portal gives you a lot of capabilities within there. Some of those capabilities deal with incident management, being able to identify incidents and be able to do technical analysis of it if you need to. Other things are the alerting capabilities that we have within incident management, as well as reporting capabilities and so forth. So in this module, we're going to dive into a lot of those features as part of that. Now, this diagram does a great job of showing how Microsoft 365 Defender pulls together all the chaos from different attack points, users, devices, and mailboxes, and makes sense of it. I like how it highlights the role of threat intelligence in turning scattered alerts into a clear, actionable incident report. It's interesting to see how Defender doesn't just react to threats, it actually connects the dots across the whole system. This really shows the value of having a centralized security system that can correlate data from multiple sources. If you've ever wondered how Microsoft keeps up with complex cyber threats, this image gives you a solid overview of the behind-the-scenes process. So now you've seen how the incident process works. Let's navigate through incident details. And to better understand this, follow the link below for a guided demonstration. Automatic attack disruption in Microsoft Defender XDR is an AI-powered feature designed to quickly contain ongoing attacks by leveraging high-confidence signals from both Microsoft and non-Microsoft products. It utilizes machine learning for real-time threat mitigation, helping you to stop sophisticated attacks and limiting the damage. To configure this feature, users can manage containment actions through the Incident and Action Center in Microsoft Defender XDR. Overall, it provides security teams with more time to fully remediate attacks, and it enhances the overall security posture. You can update incident management information, view all related information, or jump to the investigation pages for the associated data. So let's look at a brief demonstration. We're going to look at Microsoft Defender for Endpoint using the new alert experience. This is going to be a very short guided demonstration video if you'd like to watch it. So let's talk a little bit about managing automated investigations. So we'll talk about how an automated investigation starts. Automated investigations are triggered by alerts from Defender XDR when suspicious activity is detected on endpoints, identities, email, or in cloud apps. These alerts originated from a built-in threat detection rule that you can create, Microsoft Threat Intelligence, or custom detection rules. We have details of an automated investigation, which are triggered. Defender uses a combination of AI, threat intelligence, and behavior analytics to analyze the alert. It collects evidence such as process trees, file hashes, registry changes, and network connections to determine the scope of the impact. How does the investigation expand its scope? The system automatically investigates related entities such as users, devices, and files to uncover lateral movement or additional compromise. It uses a graph-based approach to map relationships and identify the full attack chain. And then we can look at the threat remediation process. Defender XDR can automatically take action to contain threats, such as isolated devices, stopping malicious processes, or even quarantining files. Remediation actions are based on confidence levels and organizational policies. There are automated levels in investigation and remediation. Defender XDR supports multiple automation levels, such as semi-automated categories, fully automated categories, and, if you choose, manual approval. These levels allow organizations to balance control and efficiency based on their risk tolerance and operational maturity. And then, important points about automation rules that you want to consider. Automation levels can be configured per device group, enabling tailored responses for different environments, such as production or test and so forth. Higher automation levels reduce response times and analysts' workload by requiring strong trust in the system's accuracy. Integrating across Microsoft 365 Defender, automated investigations are not siloed. They correlate signals across endpoints, identities, email, and cloud apps for a true unified response. This cross-domain visibility enhances detection, accuracy, and the response's effectiveness. Another benefit is speed and efficiency gains. Automated investigations significantly reduce mean time to detect, or MTTD, and mean time to respond, or MTTR. What used to take hours or days can now be resolved in minutes, freeing up security teams for higher value tasks. Auditability and transparency are also critical. Every step of the automated investigation is logged and visible in Microsoft 365 Defender in the portal. Security teams can review evidence, action taken, and rationale behind decisions for compliance and learning. We also have human oversight and analyst involvement. Even with automation, analysts can intervene, approve, or even override actions. Defender XDR provides recommendations and insights to support informed decision-making within your organization. The Defender XDR Action Center is a centralized web hub where security teams can view, manage, and respond to remediation actions taken by automated investigations or initiated manually. It provides a full visibility into actions such as files that you have quarantined, process terminations, and device isolations, along with their status, such as pending, completed, or failed. Security analysts can approve, reject, or undo actions directly from the Action Center, ensuring control and true oversight. The submission section allows users to submit suspicious files, emails, URLs, or other artifacts for deeper analysis by Microsoft's threat research team. It also displays the results of previous submissions, helping organizations validate detections and improve threat intelligence accuracy. Advanced Hunting is a query-based hunting tool that lets you explore up to 30 days worth of raw data. You can proactively inspect events in your network to locate threat indicators and entities. The flexible access to data enables unconstrained hunting for both known and potential threats. Advanced Hunting in Defender XDR is a powerful query-based threat hunting tool that allows security analysts to proactively search for signs of any type of compromise across your environment. Using a specialized query language called Custo Query Language, or KQL, analysts can explore raw data from endpoints, identities, email, and cloud apps. This enables deep investigation into suspicious behaviors, custom detection creation, and validation of alerts. Advanced Hunting supports real-time and historical data analysts, making it ideal for uncovering stealthy or emerging threats. Results can be used to trigger alerts, create custom detections, or pivot into automated investigations for an even faster response. When hunting, Entra ID sign-in logs using KQL is important. The table names are going to be a little bit different on where you're accessing those logs from. Depending on if you're in the Microsoft Sentinel portal or in the Defender XDR portal, as you can see here in the example, the log names may be a little bit different, so always keep that in mind. The Secure Score in Defender XDR portal is a dynamic measurement of an organization's overall secure posture, based on Microsoft's best practice and threat intelligence. It evaluates the implementation of recommended security controls across your Microsoft 365 services, such as endpoints, identities, emails, and your various apps. Each completed action contributes to the overall score, helping organizations prioritize and track their security improvements over time. Secure Score not only highlights areas of weakness, but also provides actionable recommendations to reduce risk. It allows security teams to compare their score against industry benchmarks and similar organizations. The score updates in real time as your configurations change or new recommendations are implemented. This offers continuous insight into your overall security health. Threat Analytics in Defender XDR provides in-depth, analyst-curated intelligence on emerging threats, active campaigns, and known threat actors. It offers detailed reports that explain how a specific threat operates, what vulnerabilities they exploit, and how they impact your overall organization. These insights are directly tied to your environment, showing whether your organization has been targeted or is potentially vulnerable. Threat analytics also includes recommended actions and mitigation steps. This helps security teams respond quickly and effectively. The reports are continuously updated by Microsoft's threat intelligence team, ensuring relevance and accuracy. This feature empowers Defender to stay ahead of evolving threats and make informed decisions based on real-world attack data. Reporting is always a vital aspect of any security tool. Defender XDR's reporting capabilities provide comprehensive visibility into your organization's security posture and threat landscape. It offers a variety of built-in and customizable reports that cover areas such as threat detections, device health, investigation outcomes, and remediation actions. These reports help security teams track trends over time, measure the effectiveness of their defense, and identify areas for improvement. Interactive dashboards allow users to filter and drill down into specific incidents, users, or devices for an even deeper analysis. Reports can be scheduled, exported, or shared with stakeholders to support compliance and executive reporting needs that you may have within your organization. Additionally, integration with Microsoft Power BI, it enables advanced visualizations and correlation across all of your data sources. Having a notification service that keeps you abreast of events occurring is critical. Defender XDR's email notification capabilities help keep security teams informed in real time about critical security events and the actions. It can automatically send alerts and notifications when threats are detected in emails, such as phishing attempts, malware attachments, or suspicious links. These notifications can be customized based on severity levels, specific policies, or user-defined rules, ensuring the right people are alerted to what's happening at the right time. Defender XDR also supports notifications for automated investigation outcomes, remediation actions, and user-reported phishing submissions. Notifications can be delivered via email, integrated with Teams, or routed through a SIEM SOAR platform for broader incident response workflows. This ensures timely awareness and faster response to ever-evolving email threats across your organization. Let's dive into our third module, Remediate Risks with Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Now, after completing this module, you'll be able to define Microsoft Defender for Office 365 capabilities. You'll be able to describe how to simulate attacks within your networks and explain how Microsoft Defender for Office 365 can remediate risks in your environment. The Microsoft Defender for Office 365 protection or filtering stack can be broken into 4 phases. Generally speaking, incoming mail passes through all of these phases before delivery, but the actual path email takes is subject to an organization's Defender for Office 365 configuration. The first phase we have is phase 1, which is edge protection. Unfortunately, edge blocks that were once critical are now relatively simple for bad actors to overcome. Over time, less traffic is blocked here, but it remains an important part of the stack. Edge blocks are designed to be automatic. In the case of a false positive, senders are notified and told how to address their issue. Connectors from trusted partners have limited reputations, can ensure delivery, or temporary overrides can be put in place when onboarding new endpoints. In phase 2, we have sender intelligence. This feature in sender intelligence is critical for catching spam, bulk impersonation, and unauthorized spoofing of emails, and also factors into phishing detection. Most of these features are individually configurable. Phase 2 includes things like account compromise detection, which triggers and alerts are raised when an account has been seen to have any anomalous behavior consistent with compromise. In many cases, the user's account is blocked and prevented from sending any further email messages until the issue is resolved by an organization's security operations team. We also have spoofing intelligence, which is capable of filtering those allowed to spoof, that is, those sending email on behalf of another account or forwarding for a mailing list. And this is done from malicious senders who, imitate organizations or known external domains. It separates legitimate on behalf of email from senders who spoof to deliver spam and phishing messages. We also look at mailbox intelligence. Mailbox intelligence learns from standard users' email behaviors. It leverages a user's communication graph to detect when a sender only appears to be someone the user usually communicates with, but is actually malicious. This method detects things like impersonation. And there are many others. In phase 3, we have content filtering. In this phase, the filtering stack begins to handle the specific contents of the mail, including its hyperlinks and attachments. It looks at things like transport rules, also known as mail flow rules or exchange transport rules, which allow an admin to take a wide range of actions when an equally wide range of conditions are met for a message. All messages that flow through our organization are evaluated against the enabled mail flow rules and transport rules. We also look at Defender for antivirus. Microsoft Defender Antivirus is used to detect all known malware and attachments. Safe attachments. That sandboxes every attachment for Defender for Office customers using dynamic analysis to detect never-before-seen threats. And there are others with that as well. In our final phase, phase 4, we have post-delivery protection. The last stage takes place after mail or file delivery, acting on mail that is in various mailboxes and files and links that appear in clients like Microsoft Teams. In this phase, we look at things such as safe links. Safe links is Defender for Office 365's time-of-click protection. Every URL and every message is wrapped to point to Microsoft's safe link servers. When a URL is clicked, it's checked against the latest reputation before the user is redirected to the target site. The URL is asynchronously sandboxed to update its reputation. We have Zap for malware, which retroactively detects and neutralizes malicious malware messages that have already been delivered to Exchange online mailboxes. We have protection for OneDrive, SharePoint, and Team, which offers the same safe attachments protection against malicious files natively inside of your OneDrive, SharePoint, and within Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Defender's XDR's Automated Investigation and Response, or AIR, is a feature designed to streamline and accelerate threat response across Microsoft 365 environments. It uses AI and security playbooks to automatically investigate alerts, determine the scope of the threats, and, if needed, take remediated actions without manual intervention. When a threat is detected, such as a phishing email or malware, AIR collects evidence, analyzes it, and classifies the alert as malicious, suspicious, or, in some cases, benign. If remediation is needed, AIR can automatically quarantine emails, isolate endpoints, or disable compromised user accounts. Security analysts can review the investigation results in the Microsoft 365 portal, where they can approve or override actions. AIR significantly reduces the time to respond to threats, helping organizations contain attacks faster and with fewer resources. It also integrates with other Defender components like Defender for Endpoint and Defender for Office 365 to provide a unified cross-domain response. This automation helps security teams focus on high-priority threats while maintaining a strong protection across their digital estate. Microsoft Defender for Office 365 includes best-of-class threat investigation and response tools that enable your organization's security team to anticipate, understand, and, in many cases, prevent malicious attacks. Threat trackers provide the latest intelligence on prevailing cybersecurity issues. For example, you can view information about the latest malware and take countermeasures before it even becomes an actual threat in your organization. Threat trackers provide the latest intelligence on prevailing cybersecurity issues. For example, you can view information about the latest malware and take countermeasures before it even becomes an actual threat within your organization. Available trackers include noteworthy trackers, trending trackers, track queries, and save queries. Threat Explorer, or real-time detections, is also referred to as Explorer, is a real-time report that allows you to identify and analyze recent threats. You can configure Explorer to show data for custom periods. Attack Simulator allows you to run realistic attack scenarios in your organization to identify many different vulnerabilities. Simulations of current types of attacks are available, and those include things like spear phishing, credential harvesting, attachment attacks, password spray, and brute force attacks. Let's jump into our fourth module, Microsoft Defender for Identity. Well, once we've completed this module, we'll be able to identify the capabilities of Microsoft Defender for Identity. We'll be able to describe how to configure Microsoft Defender for Identity sensors, and finally, explain how Microsoft Defender for Identity, or MDI, can remediate risks in your environment. Microsoft Defender for Identity is a cloud-based security solution that helps protect on-premise Active Directory environments, as well as your Entra environments, from advanced threats. It works by monitoring domain controllers and network traffic using sensors installed on-premise, which can send data to the Microsoft Defender Cloud Service for further analysis. The architecture is agentless for endpoints, but sensor-based for domain controllers, ensuring minimal impact on performance. Defender for Identity uses behavioral analytics and machine learning to detect suspicious activities like lateral movement, privilege escalation, and domain dominance. It integrates with Microsoft Defender XDR to correlate identity-based threats with signals from endpoints, email, and cloud apps. Alerts and insights are surfaced in the Microsoft 365 Defender portal, where security teams can investigate and respond. This architecture enables real-time threat detection and response, which allows you to leverage the scalability intelligence of the Microsoft Cloud. To enable Microsoft Defender for Identity, follow these key steps to set up and integrate it with your environment. First, there are some prerequisites. You need to ensure that you have an Azure AD or Entra ID tenant and the appropriate Microsoft 365 E5 or Microsoft Defender for Identity license. Confirm that your domain controllers are running supported Windows Server versions. Open required network ports for communication between sensors and the Defender for Identity cloud service. Next, you'll need to have access to the Microsoft 365 Defender portal. Go to the Microsoft 365 Defender portal and navigate to the Settings, Identity, and then Directory Services section. And from there, you'll be able to install the Defender for Identity sensor. And to do this, you're going to download the sensor setup package from the portal. You're going to install the sensor on each domain controller or Active Directory Federated Service server. During installation, provide the access key generated in the portal to link the sensor to your tenant. Then you're going to configure the sensor settings. And to do this, you may have to set up some proxy settings if needed. You're going to configure the event collection, what logs do you want sent, and you're going to need to ensure that the necessary permissions to read from Active Directory are enabled. The next thing you want to do is verify the sensor's overall health. After installation, check the sensor status in the portal to ensure it's connected and healthy. Review any alerts or configuration issues. You will also potentially need to fine-tune your detection settings. Customize the sensitivity accounts that you have, your Honey token accounts, and any excluded accounts that you may have. Enable email notifications and integration with Microsoft Defender XDR for your unified incident response. In Microsoft Defender for Identity, lateral movement paths, or LMPs, are visual representations of potential attack routes that a threat actor could exploit to move laterally within your network and eventually compromise high-value targets, such as domain admins or sensitive accounts. So let's see how this works. So the first thing we have is discovery. Defender for Identity continuously analyzes Active Directory data, including user privileges, group permissions, and authentication patterns. It then provides mapping of paths. It identifies how a compromised user or machine could be used to access other accounts or systems, especially those with higher privileges. We then provide visualizations. These paths are displayed in the portal as attack graphs, showing step-by-step how an attacker could escalate privileges or move across systems. We provide prioritizations. Lateral movement paths highlight the most critical paths, those leading to sensitive accounts, so security teams can focus on reducing those risks. We provide remediation guidance. Defender for Identity provides actionable recommendations, such as things like removing unnecessary group memberships or applying tiering models to break these paths. We also provide proactive defense. By addressing LMPs, organizations can harden their identity infrastructure and reduce the attack surface before an actual breach occurs. This guided demonstration will walk you through the process of using Defender for Identity. Follow the link below for more information. Let's dive into our fifth module, Protect Your Identities with Entra ID Protection. After completing this module, you'll be able to describe the features of Entra ID Protection and describe the investigation and remediation features of Entra ID Protection. Microsoft Entra Identity Protection is a cloud-based security solution that helps organizations detect, investigate, and respond to identity-based risks in real time. It's a part of the Microsoft Entra suite and focuses on protecting user identities in Entra ID. Here's a breakdown of its key features. We have risk detections, where it uses machine learning and Microsoft Threat Intelligence to detect risky sign-ins and user behaviors, such as logins from unfamiliar locations, impossible travel, or even leaked credentials. We have risk-based policies. You can configure automated policies that respond to detected risks, like requiring multi-factor authentication, or MFA, or blocking access entirely. User risk and sign-in risk are another feature. It distinguishes between user risks, which is the likelihood of an account being compromised, and the sign-in risk, which is the likelihood of a specific login attempt being malicious. Real-time protection is also included, which identifies protection and evaluates risk in real time and can enforce conditional access policies immediately. We have investigation tools. Security teams can use the Identity Protection Dashboard to review risk events, investigate incidents, and take remediation actions. We have integration with Microsoft Defender XDR. It shares identity signals with other Microsoft security tools for a true unified threat response. In Microsoft Entra Identity Protection, user risk and sign-in risk are two core concepts used to detect and respond to identity-based threats. Here's how they work. For user risks, well, the definition, it represents the likelihood that a user's identity has been compromised. How do we detect it? The detection of leaked credentials on the dark web is an example, or unusual user behavior over time, or correlation with known attack patterns or compromised accounts. So what's the use case for this? Well, if a user is flagged as a high risk, you can enforce policies like password reset or block access until the risk has been resolved. The second one we have is sign-in risk. So sign-in risk represents the likelihood that a specific sign-in attempt is malicious. So how do we detect that? Sign-ins from unfamiliar or impossible locations, like you're logging in from two countries within a few minutes of each other. There's no way you could travel that fast. The use of anonymous IP addresses or Tor networks. Sign-ins from infected devices or atypical user agents. So what are some use cases for this? Well, risky sign-ins can trigger conditional access policies, such as requiring multi-factor authentication, or MFA, or blocking the attempt altogether. So how do they work together? Well, user risk is more persistent and tied to the identity itself, whereas sign-in risk is event-based and tied to a specific login attempt. Both can be used in risk-based conditional access policies to automate protection and remediation. Here you can see the process that's used to determine the user's risk level. In Microsoft Entra Identity Protection, the user risk process flow is a structured approach to detecting, evaluating, and responding to potential identity compromises. Here's a breakdown of the process. So in the first step, the user attempts to authenticate. In step 2, Microsoft Entra ID calculates the sign-in risk in real time. So here's some examples of what might trigger a sign-in risk. They're logging in from an anonymous IP address. They're signing in from a known anonymous proxy or a Tor network. They're logging in from a location that they typically don't. Or they're logging in two locations within a few minutes of each other where there's no possibility of being able to travel that far. We have unfamiliar sign-in properties. You're signing in from a device or a location that you've never logged into from before, like a different country. We have malware-linked IP addresses that we're looking at, where you try to sign in or attempt to sign in from an IP address known to be associated with botnets or malware. We also look at things like suspicious inbox manipulation rules. This indicates that a malicious actor may have gained access and is trying to hide their activity. We look at sign-ins from infected devices. Devices known to be compromised or infected with malware could be a great threat. In our third step, a user risk level is assigned based on the sign-in risk level. We then perform a risk evaluation. So in step 4, risk policies are reviewed to determine what's the next potential action. Organizations can configure conditional access policies based on these risk levels. If the level is below the policy threshold, the user completes the sign-in process, but if the threshold is equal to or above the threshold level, remediation actions can then take place. Some of these remediation actions could include a user being able to self-remediate based on allowed policies. And self-remediation could be things such as allowing a secure password change or prompting a user for multi-factor authentication. If your users are not registered for MFA or password reset options, they can be blocked and require admin intervention. Administrators can monitor this entire process using report capabilities to determine why a user may be blocked based on policy. Microsoft recommends the following policy configurations for security. For your user risk policy, we recommend that you require secure password change when a user risk level is high. Microsoft Entra multi-factor authentication is required before the user can create a new password with password write-back to remediate their risk. We also recommend a secure password change using a self-service portal if you have it available, and this allows them to reset it on their own. For sign-in risk policies, we recommend that you require Microsoft Entra multi-factor authentication when sign-in risk levels are at a medium or a high level, allowing users to prove it's them by using one of their registered authentication methods to remediate the entire sign-in risk process. You can also require Microsoft Entra MFA or multi-factor authentication when sign-in risk level is medium or high, allowing users to prove it's them by using one of their registered authentication methods again. In Microsoft Entra ID protection, when a user is flagged as risky, there are two main remediation workflows to reduce or resolve the risk. The first one is self-remediation, and the second is allowing an administrator to perform remediation. Here's how each works. With self-remediation, this allows a user to resolve their own risk through secure actions, typically triggered by some configured conditional access policy. The flow would look like this. A user is flagged as risky, due to maybe leaked credentials or there's a suspicious login process. The user risk policy is triggered, and this would be something that's configured by the admin. The user is prompted to essentially either complete an MFA process if they've not already done it, and to change their password if the password write-back is enabled by an administrator. If they're successful, the risk is automatically remediated and the user risk level is lowered or even cleared. If this process is unsuccessful, access may be blocked or there may be some admin intervention that's required. In order to use this workflow, keep in mind that multi-factor authentication, or MFA, must be enabled or password write-back must be enabled within your environment. So this is important. So that's user remediation. For administrative remediation workflows, here's what you would do. The user, when they log in or they can't self-remediate for whatever reason it may be, the admin can review the risky user's authentication process in the Entra portal. The admin investigates it. It can look at things like sign-in logs. It can look at risk detections. It can look at the user's behavior. And then based off of that, the admin can take action. The actions that an admin can take would be things such as confirming that the account is compromised or it's not. The admin can dismiss the risk if it determines that the overall risk is a false positive. The admin can allow the user to reset their password. And the admin can mark the risk as either being confirmed compromised, they can mark it as being remediated, or even dismissed. Admins can use the following tools to assist with workflows and management. They can use the Entra portal, they can use audit logs, they can use the sign-in logs, and they can use the risky user reports. Let's wrap up this learning path with the 6th module, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. After completing this module, you'll be able to define the Microsoft Defender for Cloud App framework. You'll be able to explain how cloud discovery helps you see what's going on in your organization, as well as describe how to use conditional access app control policies to control access to your apps in your organization. Software as a service apps are ubiquitous across hybrid work environments, and protecting SaaS apps and the important data they store is a big challenge for organizations. The rise in app usage, combined with employees accessing company resources outside of the corporate perimeter, have also introduced new attack vectors. To combat these attacks effectively, security teams need an approach that protects their data within cloud apps beyond the traditional scope of cloud access security brokers, or CASBs. Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps delivers full protection for SaaS applications, helping you monitor and protect your cloud app data across the following feature areas. We have fundamental cloud access security broker functionality, such as shadow IT discovery, visibility into cloud app usage, protection against app-based threats from anywhere in the cloud, and information protection and compliance assessments. SaaS security posture management features, which enable security teams to improve the organization's overall security posture. We have advanced threat protection, which as part of Microsoft Extended Detection and Response, or XDR solution, enables powerful correlation of signals and visibility across the full kill chain of advanced attacks. We have app-to-app protection, extending the core threat that scenarios to things like OAuth-enabled apps have permissions and privilege to critical data and resources. The first thing you should do to get a general picture of your cloud discovery app is review the following information in the Cloud App Discovery dashboard. First, look at the overall cloud app use in your organization in the high-level usage overview. Then, dive one level deeper to see which of the top categories used in your org or each of the different use parameters. You can see how much of this usage is by sanctioned apps. Go even deeper and see all the apps in a specific category in the Discovered Apps tab. You can see the top users and source IP addresses to identify which users are the most dominant users of the cloud apps in your overall organization. Check how the discovered apps spread according to a geographic location, according to their HQ, in the app headquarters map. And finally, don't forget to review the risk score of the discovered app in the app risk overview. Check the discovery alert status to see how many open alerts should be investigated. To strengthen data security and reduce the risk of leaks or attacks, organizations can apply a range of targeted controls during user scenarios. These controls help enforce compliance, protect sensitive information, and respond to risky behavior in real time. The following measures outline how conditional app control and related tools can be used to monitor, block, and secure user actions across apps and devices. They can do a few things, such as prevent data exfiltration by blocking the download, cutting, copying, and printing of sensitive documents, as an example, to unmanaged devices. Requiring authentication context, which allows you to reevaluate the Entra ID conditional access policies when a sensitive action occurs in the session. You can use it to protect on download, requiring documents to be labeled and encrypted when integrated with Microsoft Purview. Prevent upload of unlabeled files. You can ensure that unlabeled files with sensitivity content are blocked from being uploaded until they've actually been classified. You can block potential malware by protecting your environment from malware by blocking and uploading any potential malicious files that may exist. You can use it to monitor user sessions for compliance. Risky users are monitored when they sign into apps and their actions are logged from within the session. You can block overall access. Granularity in blocking access for specific apps and users depending on various risk factors. And finally, blocking custom activities. Some apps have unique scenarios that carry risk. For example, sending messages with sensitive content in Microsoft Teams. In Microsoft Defender XDR, classifying and protecting information is essential for maintaining data security and overall compliance. The process begins with discovering data across endpoints, cloud services, and applications to identify where sensitive information resides. Once discovered, organizations must classify sensitive information using built-in or custom labels that reflect the data's confidentiality and the overall regulatory compliance. With classification in place, Defender XDR enables organizations to protect data through things like encryption, access controls, and data loss prevention policies, or DLP policies. Continuous monitoring ensures that any unauthorized access or data movement is detected in real time. And finally, reporting provides visibility into data usage and protection effectiveness, supporting audits and ongoing risk management processes that you may have in place. Now, if you're interested, please follow us along in a pre-recorded lab which reinforces a lot of the things that we've discussed in this discussion here today.
So in our first lab and exercise demonstration, we're going to look at Microsoft Defender XDR. So we've talked about it in the presentation. So let's take a look at how it actually works. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to open up a portal page and we're going to go to security.microsoft.com, which is the Microsoft security portal. This is where you go to interface or access Defender XDR. What we're going to do is we're going to sign in. I'm going to use some lab credentials for this demonstration here. And we'll put in a password. Okay, so now I've gone in, I've authenticated. I'm going to go ahead and save this because it's a lab environment. We'll save the password in here. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to the first area, which is our email and collaboration section. So what you'll notice here, when we go to the Microsoft security page, security.microsoft.com, you'll see a few different things. Now, what you'll actually see will depend on exactly what licenses you have. So keep that in mind. You'll see exposure management. You'll see investigation and response, threat intelligence. You'll see a listing of all the assets that are being monitored by our Defender products. We've got Sentinel, we've got Defender for Identity, Defender for Endpoint, and then our email and collaboration, which is what we're going to focus on here for this part of the first part of this demonstration. And then we have Defender for Cloud Apps, which is going to be our web app based security. And then last but not least, we have our system settings down here at the bottom. So again, you may or may not see all of these depending on the licensing that you have enabled within your environment, within your tenant. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go in and we're going to go to our email and collaboration. So we're going to go ahead and expand that. And within there, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to where it says policies and rules. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and enable our first set of policies, if you will. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our threat policies. And within our threat policies, you'll see two template policies. There's a preset, well, I should say two. One preset security policy, and then you have your analysis, where you can do an analysis to see how well your configurations are currently set up. And then you can do more granular settings here if you so choose. So we're going to go into our preset policies. And within our preset policies, here we have our two options. We have standard protection and strict protection. Both of these provide protection. It's the difference between standard versus strict. The main difference are the threshold limits. For standard, the thresholds are a little bit looser, if you will, or less. Whereas with strict protection, the thresholds are going to be a lot more defined and tightened, if you will. So for our demonstration here, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to select the option for standard protection. So we're going to go ahead and enable this here. And in here, it's going to give us a few different options that we'd like to do. So first of all, where do we want to apply this? Do we want to apply to Defender for Office Protection? So we're going to go in there and define what users, groups, or domains. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically say all recipients. But if you want to, you can be more granular and you can define this policy for specific users, specific groups, or for an entire domain if you want to. But for our demonstration purposes here, what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to select everyone as our policy settings. And you do have the option to exclude people if you want to as part of that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, now that we've got that defined, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to look at, okay, do we want to do any type of impersonation protection as part of this? And what impersonation protection basically gives you is to ensure that some of your most sensitive email accounts, you'll see here we say top level executives as an example, or board members. It could be, people with sensitive positions within your organization. What we want to do is we want to make sure that those email accounts aren't being spoofed, essentially. And many of you have probably seen this in your either work or personal email address account or email accounts where you'll see an email that looks like it comes from someone, but when you actually look at the details of it and you look at the routing of it, you'll realize, oh, it didn't come from that person. It's being spoofed. So email impersonation protection gives us the ability to do that, to stop emails from being spoofed, basically, from coming into the organization. The other option we have is if we want to add domains to flag when impersonated by attackers, so we can add those domains in here, which we're not going to do that now. If I want to add some trusted email addresses and domains, I can do that also. So the previous one blocks domains. This one is basically an allow list. So you're explicitly allowing certain email addresses and domains. Now, once you've gone through all of those settings and you can pick and choose, what options you want as part of that, you then can leave the policy off and you can turn it on later, or you can turn it on. So in this case here, we're going to turn on the policy here and we're going to confirm it. So what's going to happen now, it's going to enable the policy with all of the settings that we've enabled as part of this process. There we go. So now you'll see that our standard protection is enabled at this point here. So you'll see that it is turned on. You can always go back in later on and change the settings. And if you wanted to do strict protection, so I can have some people that are standard, I can have other people that are strict, or I can have everyone standard, everyone strict. It depends on how you want to configure the security posture within your environment. So now that we've got that enabled, The next thing we want to do is we want to prepare our Microsoft Defender XDR workspace for some configuration. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back up to the main screen here, the home page for it. And what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down. So once we're at the home screen, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to our asset listing. And then in our asset listing, we're going to look and see these devices. So what's happening here at this point is we like to call this the coffee cup mug. What's happening is it's actually building a workspace on the back end that'll be used for the rest of the things that we do within our security portal here. So the process to deploy Defender XDR workspace, just start and you should see a message like you see here saying that it's loading. This can take a few minutes here to do, roughly about 5 minutes, give or take. Now, keep in mind, I have seen scenarios where this is taken up to 20 minutes to complete. I've seen scenarios where it happens in a few minutes. So just be patient here. Let this sit. Once this is completed, then you'll be able to see some additional options. Okay. So at this point, the process has completed as far as setting up the backend workspace that we need. So at this point, we can go to our home screen and you'll get a display here. You know, get your SIEM and XDR in one place banner. So you'll see this right here. Get your SIEM. SIEM stands for Security Information Event Management, and XDR stands for Extended Detection and Response, or some people call it Extended Data Response, but it's actually Extended Detection and Response. So now that we've got this ready to go, the next thing we'll need to do, which we'll show you here is in a follow-up video, will be connecting our workspace to XDR. So in our next demonstration, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at Microsoft Purview audit logs. And the purpose of this is to show you how to enable it. So to kind of give you an example here, let's say you're a security analyst working for a company and you're implementing Defender XDR in Microsoft Purview. You know, you're assisting your team with configuring the Purview log capabilities that we talked about in the presentation, which are either the standard audit version or the premium audit version. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that all access and modifications to data in the network are going to be logged, so that way we have logging tracking capabilities for it, which may meet some type of regulatory requirement that we have. So let's kind of demonstrate how this works. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to back to the Microsoft security portal, so security.microsoft.com, and then once you've gone in, you go down to more resources here at the bottom, you'll see an option for Microsoft Purview portal. So we're going to go ahead and open that up. And if you notice here, you may get an error letting you know that it's been retired, which is perfectly normal. This message should typically time out. You notice here, you get a time, and it'll redirect us to the new portal page here. If for some reason it doesn't, you do have the ability just to go to preview.microsoft.com, and you'll have the ability to go in there and go to the new portal versus the old portal, which we refer to as the classic portal. So now that we're in the Purview portal, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get started here. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to select the option to get started and try it. So now within the portal environment, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our solutions section. And again, the goal here is to enable auditing of data for regulatory compliance in this case. So what we're going to do is we're going to, in the audit window, so again, if you go to solutions and you select audit, within audit, there's a search page. And within the search page, you're going to see an option that says start recording user and admin activity. So you'll see that option right here. This is going to allow you to turn on auditing for it. So we're going to select that here. And once you've selected that, you'll notice here that it's in the process of setting it up and it's completed. This can take up to about 60 seconds in our demonstration here. It actually only took about 5 seconds, but just know that sometimes it could take a little bit longer. So now that we've got that enabled, we now have auditing enabled through Purview. This is our second demonstration, and thank you. So now let's go to our third demonstration. So what we're going to do now, and now that we've enabled auditing and we've got the security portal enabled, we've got our workspace enabled, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to deploy Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Now, this is another critical thing. This is going to be one of those very common things that you're going to do in your environment because of the fact that you want endpoint protection. So if you're using Microsoft to do it, you're going to use Defender for Endpoint. And in this case, what we're going to do is we need to go in there and configure this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into on the left here in our navigation window, and we're going to go down to the settings section here under here. And within the settings sections, what we're going to do is we're going to select the option for device discovery. And what we want to do is we want to go in there and discover devices. Now, for the device discovery, now if you notice here, when I selected device discovery, it ended up showing me a blank page. If this happens, this is actually a great example here. If this ever happens, what you would do is you'd sign out and sign back in again. Typically, that will resolve that issue. So let's go ahead and sign out. Now that we've signed out, let's go ahead and log back in here to the security portal. We're going to go to security.microsoft.com. And we're going to re-authenticate. So from here, let's go back down to our device settings. Down here under settings here, we're going to go to device discovery. And now you'll notice you'll see some additional options that we didn't see before. Again, so if that ever happens to you, it's just a matter. Sometimes you can just refresh the page. Sometimes you'll need to sign out and sign back in to get that. So within device discovery, what we're going to do here is we're going to do a standard discovery, which you'll see here, which is recommended. Basically this, and we give you the information on exactly what this is. With basic, we basically look for unmanaged devices by capturing network traffic and then importing those devices. With standard discovery, what we're doing is we're actively probing or searching the network for devices as part of that. So we're going to do a standard discovery to discover any of the devices that we have out there as part of that, which we do have. And again, we're going to look for all devices versus if I wanted to, I can say only look for devices with certain tags associated with it, but we're going to do all devices in this case. So we've got that enabled. So now what this is going to do is it's going to go out and it's going to do a device discovery for us. Now, what we need to do now is we're going to continue on, and I'm going to demonstrate how we onboard a device for endpoint protection and some of the other security features that we have. So in order to do that, again, we're going to go back down to our settings section. And within settings, you'll see an option here for endpoints. So we're going to select endpoints. And within endpoints, if you scroll down, you'll see device management, and within device management, you'll see an option for onboarding. Now, this is going to be important, and here's why. Typically, in a enterprise environment, you're going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of devices that you're going to need to onboard with Defender for Endpoint. Now, in our lab environment, in our demonstration, we only have one device that we're going to do as part of this as an example, but typically you'll have a lot. So what we do is we give you a few options. So first of all, you have to define, okay, what is the OS of the device that you want to onboard? So you're going to have some, Windows products, maybe some Mac products, some Linux boxes out there and so forth. We do servers, laptops, desktops, tablets, and phones, so mobile devices. Then you have to define how do you want the agent deployed? This is an agent-based technology. So if you have less than 10 devices, you can just basically download not a login, but a script that you can use to install the agent manually. So that's the first option you have. The second option and the remaining options, or if you have a lot more devices, again, if you have hundreds or thousands of devices, you're not going to manually install the agent on each device. So you can deploy through a policy if you want to, a GPO. You can use configuration manager if you want to do that. Mobile device, Microsoft Intune, VDI deployment. So you can pick and choose whichever type of deployment that you want. So in this case, we're just going to use the less than up to 10 devices, and we're going to download the install package. So you'll notice here it downloaded the install files that I'll need. So let's go ahead and open this up. We're going to extract these files. I'm just going to extract it to the default location here. And here is our onboarding script, if you will, or agent, the script that'll install our agent. So what we need to do now is we need to run this. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to run this as an administrator. Now, again, if you were doing this through, if you had a lot more devices, you'd probably do it through a policy or something. For our demonstration, this will suffice. So I'm going to accept the fact that, we want to protect our PC and the warning that we get, and we're going to run this anyway. Yes, we're going to install it. So it's opening up a DOS box here. I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I want to confirm the installation, and it's going to perform the onboarding process for us, which is Windows Desktop Advanced Threat Protection, which that'll tell you that the endpoint is the agent is successfully installed. You can also run this PowerShell script here also, which will do the same thing. So I'm going to go in here and just demonstrate how this works. So I'm going to go in here and run this as an administrator. And it will do a verification that it ran successfully here. So I can also run PowerShell to see, did the script run successfully? So we're going to go ahead and run this, and it'll let us know if it did run successful as part of that here. And I'm getting an error here. So once you have the agent installed, if you scroll down a little bit further, there's a PowerShell script that you can run that'll allow you to verify that you've successfully installed the agent. So between the event URL logs showing that the agent is successfully installed and running this script, you'll be able to validate that. So now that we've gone in and we've got our endpoint added or onboarded into our Defender, what will happen is, if I go into, let's go ahead and minimize some of this here, and I take a look at my assets and I look at my devices here. So let's go ahead and refresh. There we go. So if I go to my assets and look at my devices, what will happen? Notice here that my device is now onboarded in here. Now, it can take some time for this onboarding process to occur. So just keep that in mind. It may not show up immediately. It could take 10 minutes or so before you'll see it. But as long as you run the PowerShell script to verify that the agent is installed, then it will eventually report. So just keep that in mind. So now that we've got an example of how we would onboard devices configured. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about how do we manage those devices from a Defender perspective. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go back to our settings, and within our settings, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Microsoft Defender XDR, and these are going to be our general settings for XDR. So within Defender XDR, what we're going to do is we're going to go in And we're going to look at permissions and roles. So we're going to select permissions and roles here. And in our permissions and roles, what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom role. So we're going to go in and we're going to go to our permissions and roles here. And we're going to generate a brand new custom role. So we're going to select the option to create a custom role. And the custom role that you want to create, we'll call it Tier 1 support as part of our demonstration here. And then we have to define, what the permissions are going to be for this. So we can specify 3 levels: security operations, security posture, as well as authorization and settings. So we're going to go to security operations here. And within security operations, what we're going to do is we're going to give whoever this is, whoever is part of this role, the ability to read and manage all permissions. So we're going to allow them to read and manage all permissions. For security posture, we can do something very similar if we need to as part of that, and so forth. So what we're going to do now is we're going to select next. We're just going to use the basic one. And we're going to, in this case here, we're going to add a user or a group to this. So we call this assigning it. So we're going to go ahead and assign this here. And the name of the assignment that we're going to use is going to be the same thing we did before, which is going to be Tier 1 support. We're going to use Tier 1 support. And for the employees or the accounts that are going to be associated with this, what we're going to do is we're going to look for specific groups in this case here. So what we're going to do is we need to assign this. So we're going to assign this to a specific group. So in this case here, you can pick and choose the user account and or groups that you like to assign this to. So in this case here, we're going to say anything related to IT. So we're going to do basically the IT department as part of this. And then for the data sources, we're going to leave this blank. But if you want to, you can be more granular. We're going to allow the SGIT group to have access to all these resources here as part of this. All right, so once we've got the permission set up, then we have to add the assignment, which is on our next page here. All right, so once we have the permission set up, we select next, and then we have to apply this. We have to add users and or groups that have that specific role. So we're going to create a brand new assignment. We're going to call that assignment, in this case, we'll just call it Tier 1 support. And then we have to define what users and or groups will have these capabilities. So it's going to pull it directly from our tenant here. And in this case here, let's do SSPR security group users. But again, you can add or remove whoever you would want from that specific group. And then for data sources, so what can they manage? We're going to select all the Defender products that we see here. So we're going to keep that. We're going to select the option to add. And again, you can add more if you need to. And then we're going to submit this. So now what I've done is I've created a custom role called Tier 1 support. And in that custom role, whoever has that role has the ability to read and manage all the permissions. Now, who can do that? That is under assignment. So anyone that's part of this assignment, which in this case is, I picked the SSPR group, they're going to have the ability to do all the permissions that you see that's assigned here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a device group. So we're going to go back to our settings here. And within our settings, what we're going to do is we're going to go to endpoint. And within endpoint, we're going to create what's referred to as a device group. So we're going to select that. We're going to add a device group. So let's talk a little bit about the purpose of a device group. What's going to end up happening here is with our Defender product, Defender for Endpoint in this case, is it's going to do anti-malware, antivirus scanning. It's going to look for threats against the endpoints. If the endpoint agent finds a threat, what we need to determine is what happens next. Does the endpoint agent automatically resolve the issue? Or does the endpoint agent just notify someone that there's a problem and then someone else has to manually resolve it and so forth? So that's what we're looking here as part of this. So in order to do that, we need to identify the devices that are going to be part of this group. That's why it's called a device group. So in this case here, what we're going to do is we're going to create a device group. We'll call it, regular users. Oops, I just put regular twice here. So we're going to say regular users. Okay, so any regular user device. And then we have to define the remediation level. So what remediation basically means is, again, if the agent finds a problem on the device, something is flagged, do I want the agent to automatically fix the problem, which is full remediation? If I select this, then any device that's part of this group, any computer, laptop, desktop, tablet, phone, whatever it may be, any device that's part of that group, if I select full remediation, the agent will automatically fix the problem, quarantine it, delete it, whatever it needs to do. But you may not want that all the time. So I may have one device group called regular users where I configure it for full remediation, but then maybe I create a second device group for maybe VIP users, a third device group for critical servers and so forth. Or maybe I do my device groups based on the type. Is it a iPhone? Is it a Windows phone? Is it an Android phone? Is it a Android tablet? Is it an iPad? Is it a desktop or a laptop? So device groups are basically all the devices that share common characteristics in a lot of cases, or how you want updates to occur or remediation. So what we're going to do for this one here is we're going to say, you know what? Allow full remediation. So we're going to select this option. But before we do that, let's talk about the other four options that we have here. If you select this, the agent will identify a problem, but it won't fix it. It'll let you know there's a problem, and then you'll have to manually intervene. So the next option we have is right here. Approval required for all folders. So what's going to happen here is it'll identify the problem, but you must approve the fix before the agent can resolve it. The next option we have is approval required for non-temporary folders. So what this means is if our endpoint detection finds an issue of, let's say, a virus, an infected file, if that infected file is anywhere outside of your temp folders, then someone must approve it before the agent will clean it up. But if it's in the temporary folder, the agent will automatically clean it up without any further approval from you. The next one we have here is approval required for system folders. So if it's in our Windows directory, our system directory, if there's a threat in there, someone has to approve it before it's remediated. But if the issue is not in one of our system directories and it's in any other folder within your system, then your endpoint agent will automatically clean it, quarantine it, delete it, whatever it needs to do to try to address it. So these are the different levels. So I may have one group, like regular users, where I say, you know what? Always fix the problem wherever it's at. Whereas I may have a different group, let's say VIP users, where I may say, you know what? For VIPs, if it's in a system folder, don't fix it, let me approve it. But if it's not in a system folder, clean it automatically. I may have another device group for, let's say, critical servers, where for critical servers, I may say, you know what? If something is found, let me know, and then we'll address it. But don't fix anything because it could potentially cause an issue. It could break something else. So, but in this case, we're going to do full remediation. So any device that's part of this group will automatically be resolved if the agent if it identifies something and it can resolve it. So let's go next. So here's where we define the devices that are part of that group. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to do this very straightforward. So there's a couple different ways. These are and or operations, as you can see. The easiest way to do it is I can say, you know what? If a device is part of a domain, so if it's part of a domain, like my tenant, then any device in the domain. But remember, I may not want every device. Maybe I want to have a device group for iPhones, a separate one for Windows servers, a separate one for Windows 10 devices, Windows 11 devices, one for Androids, one for tablets. Maybe I want to separate it that way. In order to do that, you can do that under OS. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, you know what, any device that's running Windows 10, and we'll do Windows 11 also, anything running Windows 10 or 11, it will be added to this regular user device group, and it will get full remediation if it finds something. So we're going to select Windows 10 and 11. We're going to keep that. Now, just like with everything else, how do we know it's actually working? So the next screen gives us a preview, because if you notice here, let's go back to previous screen here. I can set up a lot of rules here. How do I know that the rules that I'm setting up here will actually identify the correct devices? So on the next page, we can do a test, a preview. And if you notice here, it'll show up to 10 devices, and it brought the one device that I have. So I know that the option that I selected down here for Windows 10 and 11 is correct. Let me give you an example. Let's say I take Linux for this. And now let's do a preview. If you notice now, it generated no results for me because I don't have any Linux devices. So if you know you have the Linux devices and you know they have the agent running on them and they're not showing up here, then you need to troubleshoot. But in this case here, we're going to go back and we're going to say, we'll do our Windows 10 and 11 devices. We know it's working. There it is. So we're going to go next. So now the next step in the process is defining who has the ability to fix the issue. So let's backtrack here. Let's start from the beginning. So number one, we give a group a name, and we define any device that's part of that group. We're going to let the endpoint agent automatically fix the problem. No matter where it's at, we're going to let it fix it. Any device that's a Windows 10 or 11 device is going to be added to that group. So now, if there's an issue or I need someone to go into the system to troubleshoot because, maybe I want to remotely connect to it using PowerShell for troubleshooting purposes, which we can do. Here's where I define, notice here, access to devices in the group. Select the Azure AD users or groups that should have access to this device group and any device within that group. So I would go in here and I would find the group that I want. So we'll say anyone from the IT department. Now, I want to point out something. Let me remove this because you got to be careful. And I do this sometimes when I'm teaching classes and I'm demonstrating, just not paying attention. Because your normal inclination is to check the box and then click submit. But it doesn't work. You have to check the box and then add it. So it shows up here at the top. If you don't select the add selected group option in here and you click next, you basically didn't select anything. So you got to be careful with that. So now we've got that. We're going to go ahead and submit it and we're done. So now what I've done is I've created a device group called regular users that's going to have any device that's running Windows 10 or 11. And if an agent identifies an issue, it's going to automatically fix. It's going to perform full remediation. And who has the ability to manage the device group and the resources? Anyone that's part of that Entra group, which is SGIT. So that is how you go through the process of onboarding a device, creating a custom role for management, and then creating device groups to segregate or separate how those devices are responded to by an agent if there's a problem, as well as who can manage those devices. So now, hopefully you've enjoyed this so far. We're going to start with our final demonstration for this module that we've just discussed. And now what we're going to do is we're going to look at mitigating attacks with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So one of the first things that we're going to do is we need to make sure, and I'm going to minimize some of this here. One of the first things that we need to make sure is that our device is reporting. So we're going to go to our assets screen here. Where do my assets go here? Here we go. We're going to go to my assets and we're going to select devices. And I want to make sure that my demo machine, which is my Windows machine here, does show up. There it is. So that's the first step. If the device hasn't reported back to Defender, then you can't go any further. You may need to troubleshoot. Again, it could take some time, upwards of an hour for it to show up. Sometimes you just need to refresh your browser page for it to pop up. Maybe it's there, it just hasn't updated in your browser yet. So now that we've done that, we've gone in and we've onboarded our device. Now, once we've onboarded the device, then what we're going to do is we're going to essentially monitor it. We're going to make sure that it's being protected and so forth. So what we're going to do here is within our XDR portal, which is what we're in here right now, we're going to go to our incident and alerts. So once we verify that the device is onboarded, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to generate an incident, an alert, because we want to generate some alert data to review it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to our system settings. And within our system settings, we're going to go to endpoints. And within endpoints, we're going to go to our onboarding. And if you remember this detection script that we ran earlier, or that I showed you earlier, we're going to go ahead and run it. So I'm going to open up a command prompt. Now, normally when you run this script, it just closes the window as soon as it runs with no other response. Now that we've got the script run, we're going to give it a minute or so. And there it is right there. It already shows it. There it is. It shows an alert, an incident that occurred. So in this case here, a suspicious PowerShell command line ran. If I go to my alerts, you'll see that there it is. There's a test alert, suspicious PowerShell command was run as part of this. So these are the type of indications that you'll get from your endpoint agent when it does identify that there's some type of issue, some type of threat that's occurred. Now, of course, this is more of a simulated threat, but still, nonetheless, it's still considered a threat. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at our test alert here. And in here, we're going to select this, and it's going to give us details about what this alert is. Now, here's the beauty of using Defender for Endpoint, is the fact that you get an entire attack story. So it tells you exactly what occurred here. So in here, based on this timestamp here, a user initiated a command prompt. And in that command prompt, a PowerShell commit script was run, which is the script that you see here, which generated the alerts that we now see. So it gives you specific details on exactly what occurred. Now, based off of this, we can now say, okay, we've got this new alert. What I want to do is I want to now take this alert and maybe I want to assign it to someone or do some additional things. So if you notice here for this specific alert, I can manage the alert. So we're going to go ahead and manage the alert. In this case here, I'm going to keep it as a new alert, or maybe it's in progress if someone is working on it. So we'll change it to in progress. I'm going to assign this alert to, I'll assign it to me. And of course, and you can assign it to other people. And again, based on who you assign it to, they have the ability to investigate the threat and take remediation actions. If I want to, I can classify this alert. So what kind of alert is it? So in this case here, you know what? It comes into there's a few different categories: true positive, informational, or false positive. So keep that in mind. In this case here, we're going to say, you know what? I'm doing security testing. So I'm doing security testing. That's what generated the alert. And we're going to save it. So now this alert has been assigned to me. And I've already added some additional information as part of that. So there's an example of how you have the ability to go in and see how this works. So that gives you an idea. So in this demonstration, we walk through a few different things. The first thing we walked through was just enabling Microsoft Defender XDR, walking through and setting up some Defender preset security policies. So that's the first demonstration that we did. The next thing we did is we prepared Microsoft Defender XDR workspace. Once we completed that, Then what we did is we enabled the audit logs for Microsoft Purview. So we demonstrated that. And then we deployed Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So you saw how to deploy an agent. You also learned how to configure device groups as well as configure custom roles. And then finally, once we onboarded the device, we simulated an attack by running the agent test script, and we looked at some of the log information that we have as part of that. Hopefully you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.
In this learning path, we discussed Microsoft Defender XDR. Microsoft Defender XDR is a solution that helps mitigate threats and risks using various tools and capabilities. Threat investigation. Microsoft Defender XDR provides tools for threat investigation, including Microsoft Security Graph API and advanced hunting capabilities. We have incident management. Microsoft Defender XDR allows for incident management, including automatic attack disruption and investigation of alerts. We have Office 365 protection. Microsoft Defender for Office 365 provides capabilities for filtering, simulating attacks, and remediating attacks. Identifying protection is the final thing. Microsoft Defender for Identity and Entra ID protection provide tools for protecting identities, detecting risks, and remediating threats. This concludes Learning Path 1. There are many ways to continue your learning journey. We encourage you to watch other videos in this course or search out your next favorite topic on Microsoft Learn at aka.ms/learn. Thank you.